Well, hey there everyone, and welcome back to Cowboy Survival. I'm Richard, and I have some really big news. The first of the month, we monetized the channel. It's a really cool experience to know that we're there, to know that people have liked the videos enough. Actually, I think what it was, they really liked one video a lot. But I sort of hoped to do it by the end of the year, but it turns out I did it by the beginning of September. So that was kind of a really pleasant, uplifting surprise. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for the attention you paid and for the likes you've given to the channel. We really appreciate it. We'll be doing a giveaway sometime soon here this fall, so keep watching for that. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a look at Ozark Trail's folding knives. Now, no, I'm not going to do the orange bug out copy. I'm not going to do that knife for a couple of reasons. First of all, everybody's done it. There are a million videos out there about that knife. Everybody trashes the knife. I mean, it's okay. It's a $10 knife. One of the main points I have when I look at that knife is I'm thinking, why would anybody, and I mean anybody, who wants a $10 knife go to eBay and pay $30 or $35 for it? Makes no sense to me at all. The knife is not worth $30 or $35. Is it worth 10? Probably. Is it worth 30 or 35? No way. If you want a $30 or $35 knockoff of the Benchmade Bugout, you can buy those for $25 or $30 that are much better knives than the Ozark Trail. I'm not saying the Ozark Trail is a bad knife. I haven't looked at it yet. But it's certainly not worth $25, $30, $35. So don't go do that. If you can't find it, there's no problem. They have a lot of other knives. And what we're going to do tonight is take a look at two of them. We're going to take a look at this one. It's a 7-inch, $5.96 or 97-cent folding knife with a flip blade on it. And we're going to take a look at that one. And then we're going to take a look at this 7-inch knife. It's got a drop point on it, and we're going to take a look at it. It's got a blue handle on it. It's a different texture handle, a little bit different knife than this black one. They're both billed as a 7-inch knife. Ozark Trail's not very creative with the way they name their knives. It's 7 inches long, so they called it a 7-inch knife. Okay. But we're going to take a look at both these knives, take them out of the packages, and see what we've got when you spend $6 for this knife or $8 for that one. So the knife that I'm going to be using as my bench line or my benchmark knife is going to be this Benchmade mini bug out. My son-in-law gave me this for Christmas last year. It's a really cool knife. It's very well made, fairly expensive, I think, when you buy them anywhere. But I really love this knife. I carry it with me every day. I removed the belt clip because I don't really like belt clips, pocket clips on them. This knife, of course, has the Axis locking system on it, so I can flip this blade out and it locks, and then to unlock it I simply slide the button down here, my slide lock, and there it goes. It closes up really nice. This knife is really great. You can hold it back and flip it out. It flips back with no bounce. It's really a nice little knife. We're going to use this as a comparison knife to these two Ozark Trail knives to see what we have and which one might be better. First thing I want to do is a baseline. Let's take a look at this knife here. So we're going to weigh it first. So I'll turn on my scale. And when we weigh this knife, we see that it weighs right at 1.3 ounces. So 1.3 ounces is very light. I think it's because of the material it's made out of. And it's a little bit smaller. It's about the same size, just a tad bit smaller than these other two knives. But at 1.3 ounces, it's really a light knife. I can put it in my pocket. Don't hardly even know it's there. Sometimes I have to check to see if I still got it with me. This knife opens, as I said, very nicely with a little flip action. It cuts very well. Now, I carry this knife with me every day, so I don't know if it's really as sharp as it probably ought to be, but that knife just cuts very nicely. I can take this and cut this stuff, this paper. Whoop, if I can get it on there. I need to sharpen this thing. But it's sharp. Well, it's not cutting well at all tonight. There it goes. It's just not cutting well at all. I guess I need to sharpen that thing. It's getting kind of dull. But that knife, when it's sharpened, will cut right through that paper, which it did not do tonight. Okay, live video, right? That's what happens. So this is going to be our comparison knife. Let's first take a look at this black handled 7-inch knife from Ozark Trail. Now be very careful when you open these packages. They come blister packed, the handle sticks out the back, but I want you to notice that the clip is through the back of the card. So you can't just pull it out. You also don't want to be careful, if you're holding the card like this, don't pull it because you might cut your finger. So I sliced open the plastic. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold it back down here at the bottom while I take this knife and I push it up to get the clip out of the back of the knife. So that way I don't risk cutting myself. Both the knives come with a little point protector on them, so you can take that off. Now let's take a look at this knife. It's really an attractive knife. It's got a nice it's got a textured handle on it. I don't know if you can see the texture on that. Let's see if you can see it in this camera here. You can see the texture. I like the red steel liners. Now that's going to make the knife a little heavier than it might otherwise be. It's also got a little red washer right here. Now that washer it's okay. It's got a black blade. It says Ozark Trail right there on the blade. You can see. It doesn't tell me what kind of steel it is, which makes me think it's not really great steel. But the knife will cut paper fairly easily. This paper's got a little moist sitting out here tonight, so it cuts the paper pretty well. I imagine I could put a little bit better edge on that blade. So far, it's got a liner lock in it. The liner lock is a little stiff right now. I imagine it'll loosen up with time. I can fold that knife down now. It's a pretty stiff knife. It's not going to flip out real nice. Watch this. You gotta give it a little extra. It's not going to just flip out real easily. I demonstrated earlier this year the Harbor Freight Icon drop point knife that everybody wanted back last spring. And you know, that knife is beautiful. It's got smooth action on it. It's really incredible. This is a $6 knife. Doesn't have the same action on it that the other. If you wanted to, you could probably take this apart, put in maybe some graphite washers in there, get a little bit more smooth action to it. For $6, I'm not going to worry about taking it apart, but you could certainly perhaps get some better action on this with, you know, now if you swing it pretty hard, I was able to get it out that time. The more I use this, I think the better it's going to be. So I've been able to get it out now. It doesn't flip out nice as easy though as some of my other knives. I've got some other ones that do pretty well. This one, you got to work it out, but it's okay. Doesn't have much of a choil down here for your finger. It's got a little bit of one, but not much of one. It's got a little bit of ridge right here, so you can put your thumb and your thumb doesn't slip on it. It's got a nice squared off top on it. So I don't know if that would work on a ferro rod. I'd have to test it. I didn't bring my ferro rod out here with me. Weight wise, when I weigh this knife, let's weigh it here. The weight on this knife is 2.3 ounces. It's a full ounce heavier than my mini bug out. But again, this is the mini bug out. It's not the full-size bug out, but it weighs 2.3. I think the full-size bug out weighs 2.2 ounces. So, but it's 7.5 inches instead of just 7. This thing does measure 7 inches. If I measure this from the point out to the edge of the handle, it's 7 inches. That's why they call it a 7 inches knife. If I measure just the blade itself from here to the point, it's going to measure right at 3 inches. You can see that. So it's going to measure right at 3 inches. Would this knife be fun to carry? Probably. Might be better to carry. It's a little bit thick. If you compare it to the mini bug out, it's certainly a thicker knife. So that's going to mean that it's going to be a little bulkier in your pocket. This knife, as I said, it's going to be a little bulky in your pocket, a little bit, an extra ounce heavier. You're going to feel it. It's not going to fold up as tight and as thin as the bug out does. And again, I'll show them to you side by side. See, the mini bug out's going to be much thinner, and it's a whole ounce lighter. You hardly feel it in your pocket. Would I put this in a bug out bag? Sure. Would I put it in my car, in perhaps a toolbox, fishing box? Absolutely. I think it's for $6. It's a great knife. What if I lose it? It's $6. What do I care, right? So let's take a look at the blue handle knife and see what it's like. Same setup, comes in the blister pack, handle sticks out the bottom. You've got you got to be careful removing it from the package because the pocket clip slips through a hole in the back of the card. I've already removed it once, so I'll just go ahead and take this out of here. and it's got, again, a protector on the point. This knife is the handle is smooth as opposed to the other one. It's not textured at all. It does have the pocket clip on it. Again, I will probably remove the pocket clip. I don't like pocket clips, but this one's got a little bit more hefty blade on it, I think. It doesn't, yeah, I don't know if it's really thick. Yeah, it's a little thicker than the black one. It feels a little bit more substantial. The weight on this knife is 3.6 inches. So this one knife is a full 1.3 ounces heavier than the other one. So remember, the mini Bugout was 1.3 ounces. This knife was 2.3 ounces. This one is 3.6 ounces. Much heavier knife. So you might put this in a little sheath on your belt. You could keep the pocket clip and keep it, on your belt. I wouldn't clip it to my belt, but certainly might put it in a little sheath or a little pouch on your belt. Much heavier knife, but I think it's because it's heavier because it's got more weight in it. They could have, I think they could have made this knife better if they had sort of drilled out the steel liners and take some of that weight out of there. It's not necessary that those liners be solid. I can look in there and see if they're just solid steel liners. You could have airframed those and made them a lot lighter, removing a lot of the weight, I think, from this knife. So let's see what it's like. It's got a liner lock in it. So you can see the liner lock in there. So when we push this liner lock over, it pushes over real easy. That knife folds down. Boy, that's a stiff fold. This is going to be a hard knife to flip out also. No, it flips out easier than I thought it would. Folds down, flips out. It almost, when it folds down, it almost has it gets a little stiffer right here. So it's going to be harder. You see how that sort of springs back? It's going to be harder to cut your finger when you do this. So you have to manually fold it down. It doesn't just flip back in. So you take this thing and it just flips out. So it flips actually better than the $6 knife does. Remember, this is an $8 knife. It's a silver blade. It's got the Ozark Trail logo right on the blade. You can see that. It's got that Ozark Trail logo right there on the blade. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. It tells you by the way, it tells you on the blade, it's made in China. I see it right down there at the base of the blade. So it tells you it's made in China. This one over here, I don't believe said that. It did not. The black one did not tell you it was made in China. This one announces it right there on the blade. So, okay. I kind of like the knife. The knife is, let's see how sharp it is. Boy, it's really sharp. It's cutting that paper really nicely. The length of this blade, if you measure it from the butt to the end, is 7 inches, just like it advertises. The blade is going to be, again, right at 3 inches, just like the other one, so the size is about the same. This one has a couple of features on it. It's got some little ridges right here on the handle. I don't know if you can see those right here on the back. I'm not sure what that's for. Maybe it helps stabilize that. Well, that's interesting. Oh, there it goes, okay. So it stabilizes it, I guess, in your palm. It's got a little ridge right here on the top of the blade. And it's got this little thumb thing here. I'm not sure what that's for. It slides forward. Maybe it locks it in place even better. That's interesting. I'm not sure what that does. I guess it locks it in place, so even if you, no, well, it won't shut down when you do that, but I'm not sure what the point of that is. That's interesting. Oh, I know. You push that forward, and you can't flip it out. It's a flip lock, so that thing's not going to flip out by accident. It's got this little thing here, and you can see here in the video, I can take that, I slide that back like that, and now I can flip it open. But when that thing is slid forward, it locks that flipper, so I can't flip that blade out. That's kind of interesting. A little safety feature, I guess. Adds a little weight. Again, they could have airframed that steel liner in there and made this knife a whole lot lighter. If I was to take this apart, that's exactly what I would do, is I would take this apart and I would take those steel liners and I would drill out some holes and make this a whole lot lighter knife. It appears to be in there, well, it's not in there straight. It appears to be straight here, but not down here at the bottom. So it's straight up here, but it's off a little bit down here. When it gets to the bottom, it's leaning toward that side. I don't know if you can see that. So that tells me that this blade is either warped or it is off center. I suspect it's probably warped. I know I've seen some videos where that orange Bugout copy had some warpage in the blade. This one here, again, the liner lock's kind of stiff. This one here is more on center, but it's also a little off center. I don't know if you can see that. So it's not totally on center. So those two things. So those are the two knives. Not awful. $6, $8. This one, there, flips out kind of hard. This one flips out pretty easy. Both knives, I think, are reasonable to put in a backpack. I don't know if I carry either one of them in my pocket because they're both a little heavy. I think I'll stick with my Benchmade for my pocket knife. That's kind of for my pocket knife, right? This one has a more substantial blade on it. That also adds to the weight. The blade on the other one is much smaller. Even though they're the same length, they're much smaller in dimension. I think you can see that. This is more of a drop point knife. They both seem to have a hollow ground on them. But for $6 and $8, not a bad investment. So there you have it. 2 Ozark Trail knives, $6, $8. We tested them out. We looked at them. Not bad little knives, $6, $8. Are they an internet sensation? I don't know. I haven't seen many videos on them, so maybe not. Are they reasonably good pocket knives? I think so. Would I survive with it? No. So I'm going to get the comments in the videos. Oh, you should never buy cheap knives like that. Those are waste. You don't want to survive. Well, I know that. Okay, we all know that knives like this are not knives you're going to survive with. But if you need just a pocket knife to have laying around in a drawer, to have in a toolbox, to have in your truck, these aren't bad little knives to have. Will they last forever? Probably not. I'll probably put a better edge on each one of them. So they'll cut even better. As I showed, I'm going to have to put an edge on my Benchmade. So I think that tells you they're decent little knives. I'm pretty happy with that. So, all in all, not a bad little test of spending, what, $14 at Walmart to get a couple knives and try them out. I'll store them away in a place that will need them and be able to find them when I need to cut something. So I'm pretty happy with that. So there you go. Hope you liked it. If you did, we want you to subscribe to the channel. Please click the notification bell so that when we issue new videos, you'll get those. In the meantime, stay strong, stay prepared, have a blessed day, and we'll see you real soon on Cowboy Survival.